Today we're going to work on making some calaveras, or decorative skull for Days of the Dead. You watched a video about it and learned a little bit more about the culture and the other arts that they make for that holiday. We're going to start with a piece of scratch paper. This is covered. There was a bright, colorful picture underneath it, and then it's covered up in black. We're going to scratch the black away. First things first, we take our stencil. The part where you see the eyes, that's the top. So find a good place to lay it. You have a couple options for tools. I have some traditional wood styluses that we can use to scratch color away. And I also have these where they have a metal tip. These also work very well. You just have to be really careful that you don't scratch too hard. If you do scratch too hard and put down too much pressure, then you're going to make the black come off, the color come off, and you'll have white. Or in really bad situations, you might dig a hole in your page, and we can't fix it. If you take too much off, we can't put it back unless you use a black marker, like a permanent marker, to color over your mistake. Then you can't scratch it off when you're done. I also have this kind at Prairie Crossing, where the tip is a little curved, and with this type it's easier to not scratch too hard. So pick your tool and I'll lay this on the paper. You want to avoid touching the black stuff too much with your hands, so try to keep your hands out towards the edge of the paper if you can. The problem is the oils in our fingers sink into this black coating, and if too much gets in there, then it's really hard to scratch away wherever your fingerprints are. So try not to touch too much. So lay it down, scratch very carefully. I know sometimes you get that fingernails on a chalkboard sound when you're working. If something didn't come off, just try to scratch it a little bit more. And there's the skull. Then I will provide you with something round to make your eyes. So lay it down where eyeballs go. And trace. Once again, you are not pushing down too hard. Yes, my eyes are very large and buggy. That is okay. So on Calaveras, the eyes tended to be the most decorative part. Then you're also going to need a nose, which usually you're going to go with an upside down heart shape for your nose. And for your mouth, they didn't have lips because it's a skull. So I'm going to draw some very happy teeth. Keep in mind they were human skulls, so you only have a top row of teeth and a bottom row of teeth. I always end up with students who add 3 or 4 rows in there. We are not sharks. Once you have the basics down, then you have to make this very decorative. And with the calaveras, they didn't have a lot of geometric shapes other than the circle. You don't see squares, rectangles, triangles, nothing pointy. You see organic shapes, curvy shapes, shapes from nature, flowers, plants, spider webs. All of that is fine. Nothing gross, nothing scary, because that's considered disrespectful to those who have passed away, because that's what this is all about. Sometimes they would write the name of a relative on the top of the skull in honor of them, not to make fun of them. So that's something that you can do if you so choose. Or sometimes they'll put a cross in the middle for that person. That's okay if you choose. Just remember, whatever you scratch off, we can't put back. And this has to have symmetry, so whatever you put on the left, you also put on the right. So if I draw a shape over here, I have to do the opposite on the other side. It can't go the same direction. If you go to color things in, I don't want to see this where it's all scratchy and messy. You're going to take your time to scratch away and make it look nice. Same thing over here. If you choose to do hair, which is totally your choice, it also has to be done nice, not just a big bunch of scribbles all over the page. When you're working with this tool, it's handy, well, the side of it, if it's the curved tip, the side of it is handy for very, very carefully scratching away large areas. So you just kind of hold it at an angle and it'll scratch the color away off of your page. On this guy, it's good for fine lines, just don't push too hard. So I'm being very, very gentle. It's best for drawing the lines. As you see, I wasn't pushing very hard, and there's a little bit of white showing on this one. If you're having a hard time working and keeping your hand off of your black paper, you could always use a piece of scrap paper as a barrier. So put your hand on the scrap paper, that way you can set it down, and then you still have control to do your scratching on your skull. And here's my finished skull. If you want, you can also add a little decoration near the corners, but try to stick with the organic shapes, because you see a lot of shapes from nature. Vines, leaves, flowers, and dots are used very frequently, so I have a lot of dots. And keep in mind, the more things that you scratch away, the bolder your picture will be, because it looks a lot more interesting when there's color there and not just plain lines. Have fun!